The People Power Party's iron fist and the collapse of the Han Dong-hun faction from the perspective of Esq Andre, the dramatic story of the internal purge within the People Power Party begins with shocking news regarding former Supreme Council member Kim Jong-hyuk. This figure has been continuously attacking and criticizing the party and is currently facing discipline alongside Han Dong-hun. Initially, the Party Audit Committee only recommended a 2-year suspension of party membership, but the Ethics Committee made a much tougher decision, a recommendation to leave the party. According to the regulations of the People Power Party, a person receiving this disciplinary action must submit a withdrawal form within 10 days of receiving the notice. If Kim Jong-hyuk does not voluntarily leave within this period, he will be immediately expelled without going through any further voting. This means that regardless of his choice, Kim Jong-hyuk will be completely removed from the organization. The move to raise the disciplinary level from suspension to forced departure shows a decisive shift in the mindset of the current leadership. They view the actions of the pro-Han Dong-hun and Kim Jong-hyuk faction, which harm the party, as intolerable and requiring the strictest punishment. This decision was officially notified to Kim Jong-hyuk today after being decided on the 23rd. From this, the narrator analyzes that the People Power Party is sending a stern message that they are ready to cut out internal tumors to stabilize the organization. Attention immediately shifts to Han Dong-hun, as Representative Jang Dong-hyuk is expected to return to work on the upcoming 29th and convene a Supreme Council meeting. It is expected that the expulsion of Han Dong-hun will be voted on there, and with the current strong momentum of the purge, it is highly likely that this penalty will be passed. The narrator recalls the event where former President Park Geun-hye visited Jang Dong-hyuk while he was on a hunger strike and called for harmony. However, according to the analysis, that call did not imply embracing those who betrayed the very president the party produced. Internal party views and external opinion both hold that there can be no unity with those who stab their comrades in the back. The disciplinary process for Han Dong-hun requires ratification by the Supreme Council, unlike Kim Jong-hyuk's case, making the meeting on the 29th a fateful moment. Although Jang Dong-hyuk was just discharged from Yangji Hospital today and has not fully recovered, his determination to return to manage affairs shows the urgency of handling Han Dong-hun. Returning to Kim Jong-hyuk, the Ethics Committee published a document rejecting his request to change the committee chairman, which he had filed earlier. The reason given was that the evidence cited by Kim Jong-hyuk was insufficient to prove that Chairman Yoon Min-woo held prejudice or would handle the case unfairly. In this document, the party also detailed Kim Jong-hyuk's offenses. He used heavy terms such as fascist, delusional, virus, and handful of ashes to disparage his own party and its leadership. The Ethics Committee determined that this was not freedom of speech or conscience, but hate speech and attacks on party leadership. More seriously, they categorized Kim Jong-hyuk's actions as a form of information psychological warfare, a term often used in the military to describe enemy sabotage activities. Applying the concept of psychological warfare to describe the actions of a party member shows the severity with which the leadership views the issue. They believe Kim Jong-hyuk is actively implementing measures to divide the leadership from the members, causing chaos and a loss of trust in the command system, similar to tactics enemies use to paralyze their opponents. Analyzing deeper, this is the sternest sentencing, transforming Kim Jong-hyuk from a dissenter into a dangerous saboteur who must be removed immediately to protect the party's survival. With Kim Jong-hyuk almost certainly being expelled, All eyes are on Han Dong-hun, who is also on the chopping block. Although there are one or two pro-Han figures left in the Supreme Council, that is not enough to reverse the situation once Jang Dong-hyuk takes control and is determined to cleanse the party. However, amidst the climax of the purge, another shocking piece of information emerged regarding Supreme Council member Shin Dong-wuk. At a legislative report session by Representative Seo Chien-ho, Shin Dong-wuk publicly bowed an apology and admitted that former President Yoon Suk-yeol's declaration of martial law was a mistake. The image of Shin Dong-wuk bowing has caused a wave of great outrage. He stated the need to courageously cast off that wrong past to move toward the future. The narrator cannot hide his frustration when analyzing this action. The fact that a Supreme Council member of the ruling party apologizes for the decision of his own side's president and labels it a mistake is akin to playing along with the opposition's narrative and indirectly admitting legitimacy to the suppression of Yoon Suk-yeol. Shin Dong-wuk's action is viewed as a blatant betrayal as he tries to cut ties with the past to protect his political position, even if it means trampling on the honor of former President Yoon Suk-yeol. The narrator argues that people like Shin Dong-wuk are corrupting the party from within by shaking the very chair they sit on. Declaring the abandonment of martial law issues to move to the future is essentially agreeing to a political death sentence for Yoon Suk-yeol. This incident further highlights the importance of Jang Dong-hyuk, who is expected to stand firm and not be swayed by opportunists within the leadership ranks. The story concludes with the assertion that Jang Dong-hyuk needs to be even tougher to remove not only the Han Dong-hun group, but also wavering figures like Shin Dong-wuk. With the 10-day ultimatum, it is certain that Kim Jong-hyuk will not voluntarily leave, but will choose to be expelled to play the victim of political suppression in order to seek outside support. On the upcoming 29th, under the chairmanship of Jang Dong-hyuk, Han Dong-hun's expulsion will be passed despite the weak opposition of the pro-Han minority. After dealing with these two figures, the spearhead of right-wing public opinion and party leadership will turn to Shin Dong-wuk. His apology regarding martial law will be seen as an act of surrender to the left wing, and Shin Dong-wuk will face a fierce boycott from loyal party members, leading to the possibility that he will also be isolated or forced to resign in the near future. The story of the disciplinary action for Kim Jong-hyuk and Shin Dong-wuk's controversial bow has exposed a life-or-death battle to reshape the identity of the People Power Party. It shows that the line between loyalty and betrayal is becoming more fragile than ever, and only those with firm political mettle can survive. Does Jang Dong-hyuk have enough strength to clear out the weeds growing in his own backyard? Please leave your comments and opinions below. And don't forget to follow the ESQ Andre channel to continue updating with the sharpest and most authentic political analyses on the next hot developments.